I will say, even though if I don't read them all, I really do appreciate that DC does these backups and like
Yes.
puts them in the books. And so those people who like these characters can kind of get those stories. You can push something different for a lot of people. I know in the Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods book that's been going on, they're doing a backup that has Nubia, Philippus, and Queen Faruka of the Amazons. And they've been like going through fighting, and that one's been really, really good, and that's been dope to see. And I think if people continue to push them and really make sure that they feel legitimate, that's how you get books. Power Girl had her back up; she just got a book announced.
Now she's got in the book, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So,
speaking of that, did you see that Fire and Ice are getting a
Fire and
remake?
Ice are getting a
We're just
remake.
talking about them too.
We were just talking about them. Welcome to Smallville. If you guys support that again. What did I see a commercial for the other day? Oh, I can't even remember now. But I saw, bacon. I saw a commercial for bacon the other day, and it was like so monumental to me because I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a commercial for bacon before in my entire life. But I was like, I know that's something that we obviously sell. It's like a big thing. I was like sitting here trying to think. I was like, I've never seen like a commercial for a brand of bacon.
Really? No Oscar Mayer? Nothing?
I mean, those are hot dogs. I saw they're like hot dogs, Oscar Mayer wieners,
They
but
also
never.
have Baker.
Do they? I don't know. Obviously, we eat Oscar Mayer, so that's news to me.
It's a company.
Um,
They package other meats.
I just knew Oscar Mayer wiener.
So, do you know they have like lunch meats and other stuff too?
No idea. Is it good?
I haven't had an Oscar Mayer in a long time. I'm
like,
old now. I don't know if my body can process this
like,
anymore.
it was in the fridge or something at the moment. You about to pull it out, but no. Yeah, I saw a bacon commercial, and that was like a really big deal for me. I don't.
Okay, well, great. That's a great way to start. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Another Relaunch. This week, I am Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver.
I am Daniel Moonstar, aka Psyche, aka Mirage, aka Moonstar. She got a couple names.
Names. Damn. All right, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing well. I rewatched Moon Knight recently. Awful show. Just an awful adaptation. So that was that. But other than that, I'm great. How are you?
That's wild to think that it was awful. When we were watching it, I didn't think it was that bad.
No, I mean,
was
I thought it
enjoying
was
it
that
at the
bad when
time.
we watched it. I remember that. But like going back, like, and just kind of taking it in more, it was just they stripped everything about Mark and like who he was, and they introduced a bunch of like new automated characters. They changed around the origin. They like added this British accent to Steven that was unnecessary. Layla is around. It was just like,
Whoa, Layla's
good.
cool.
No, okay.
Cool enough to get her own comic book. I know that's right.
Well, they love the MCU. The comics gonna cash in on that in any way they can.
And only the popular ones get it. I know that's right, Layla.
I don't
I'll be
think
there picking up
case.
Sunday.
But we'll
Well,
see.
yeah,
I do have high hopes. I have high hopes for comic book Layla. As I've always said, the design is nice of Scarlet Scarab, so shout out to that. The cover that got released with her on it looks amazing. Shout out to that artist who did. I believe it was Davigo. They also did a Betsy variant. You guys can go pick that up for issue 4. So yeah, all of that stuff looks good. But we will see if the comic version is a little bit more enjoyable than the lady from the show.
I'm sure she's just as cool. I can't believe you hating on her. She was so dope. When she said, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" and she said yes,
Always bring up that moment, but that really
I
feels like
gag.
more for the little girl than it is for Layla herself.
I thought it was so cool.
It's just like, but other than that, she wasn't really giving us too much. She was just there all
The
the
scene
time.
right after that, she was beating ass with those two swords flying through. Like, come on.
Yeah, the one fight scene of the series. Congrats to them.
And she got it. Can't say that about everybody else.
I will say that I will actually give her action scenes. I remember when I was watching the like behind the scenes where they were practicing. She looks good fighting, but the character of Layla herself is still. Ugh. I don't think they should get a season 2.
Oh, I think they may have been starting to work on it, but I think they've also been probably aware of all the backlash that it's been getting, so.
Yeah, it was deserved.
It's wild that MCU keeps introducing all these new characters and like right off the bat, they have a lot of controversy around them and they have to figure out what to do afterwards. What a shame.
When you see what happens if you just use the characters from the comics, you wouldn't probably have that.
We are straight too far away from the source. It gets like that. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the updates of the week. Speaking of some MCU news, we've learned that Nick Pizzolatto, who was a writer on True Detective, has joined Blade as a writer. And this actually reunites Mahershala Ali, who was also on True Detective, with this writer. So I know some fans are super excited about this.
And like changing things. And the writers are about to go on strike in a few days anyway. So we'll even see if this thing gets written. You know what, Kevin Feige? I see your spirit.
What's going on with Blade?
That's all I'm going to say about that. However, I am still very optimistic for the movie. It's got a lot of really good talent on it. Mahershala, Delroy Lindo, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre. I'm rooting for you. I will be there to support should this film ever come out. But whatever's happening in the background is really annoying. And it's like it's just extra annoying because you don't hear as much about these other films as you do on Blade. I'm pretty sure a lot of these other movies have had their issues. We've seen it. But it just seems like every week something's going on over there. And it's just like, who's sabotaging this at this point? Probably Mahershala.
I feel like it's... And I feel like that's for the best, right? Because I feel like Mahershala probably doesn't want this to be bad. And he probably saw some things with the script and was like, you know what? I know a guy who's doing some great stuff. True Detective is a fantastic show that I think they won a bunch of Emmys on in their first season. So like, yeah, I'm sure he was like, let's do something a little better. I know somebody that could write something that's great for this. So, hey.
Let's see. Well, we're hoping again, I like everybody involved. I love Blade. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm going to be there regardless. I'm just ready for them to get the show on the road. It was announced to what, 2019?
Yes, but things take some time. We were dealing with the pandemic.
Okay. You managed to get Thor out.
Unfortunately, yes. And we'll also be talking about Guardian 3 soon, so we'll see. All right, we also saw the release of the Flash trailer this past week, and I have to say that it's a wild thing to witness them still going through with this film, not only from the way that it looks, but just the star of it with Ezra Miller and everything going on with him, that they just decided to say the movie was made, so we're going to keep going.
But they're making sure that everybody lets you know it's amazing.
Yes.
I have not seen a single person outside of that WB bubble of talent or affiliations. They are just letting you know this is the greatest movie we've ever seen. It's fantastic. It's going to change the DCEU. It's this, it's that. They're saying this is it. This is the one you want to see. And it's just like, okay.
Did we watch the same trailer? Because we couldn't have. That doesn't make sense. They're in this trailer and what happened to the CGI, please? Every time any other movie comes out, it's like, oh my God, let's pick apart the CGI. This was not looking that great.
Never does.
They had the Supergirl in there, and with her Gumby cape, it looks weird. Then you have this other Flash who obviously is wearing a Batman cowl on, and his the neck can't turn, so that looks weird. It's been spray painted. We also get Michael Keaton's Batman, and we see his moment, but his line of him and in the cave just did not hit the way that I feel like they were going for.
I won't lie, I kind of gagged, but I love Michael Keaton.
I was like, okay, cool.
So that was just a personal thing for me. Michael Keaton and Batfleck are probably my two favorite Batman.
Yeah, so we saw in this, but his mask in it looked very bad.
Yeah, but
blatantly CGI over his
I want them to do a cut that's just Batfleck and Michael Keaton Batman scenes. I watch that.
It might be short because I heard that they may not that long. But again, I mean, I guess we'll see when it comes out. I don't know if we'll end up watching that on this show, but they put a trailer out.
It is what it is. It's coming out.
It is.
We'll see how it goes. I don't know. This is supposed to be the thing that changes the DCEU, kind of sets up everything for James's Gunn DCU, and we'll see how that goes.
Barry run back in time and try to save his mom.
Honestly, it just really makes me realize how much I do not like the Flash and the Speed Force and that whole aspect of time travel and changing time. And I think it's such a big cop out for the characters. I'll never forget that horrible movie, the animated one, Apocalypse War.
Yes.
Terrible. The heroes are getting ravaged the entire time. They're dying. All hope is lost. And it's okay, Barry, run. And just reset everything. What?
Yeah, that movie was very gory for the sake of being gory.
I hated it. And I remember people attacked me. They were like, you don't know what you're talking about. It was good. I was like, why y'all mad at me? Because I said I don't like it. It's just my opinion.
And what's wrong with not liking something that's grotesque for the sake of being grotesque?
Because I don't want to see Starfire getting ripped in half every 5 seconds. What are you talking about? Anyways. It was a bad
changed. People like different things.
It wasn't good. But whatever, that was just me.
All right, well, overall, I thought the trailer was okay. The movie does not look very good. I think it feels like they're just kind of putting it out. I didn't think Ezra was giving anything great. Again, he can't run. So I don't know why they are the Flash. Also, they caused so many issues and were literally on the run from the law, and I'm not sure why they still people. Yes, I'm not sure why they are still able to just kind of get away with all that kind of stuff while the movie goes out. But
hey, they want to see it.
It's just the best movie ever. This is the timeline we live here.
This is he ran and he got what he wanted. They got what they wanted. Excuse me. So you go.
Well, whatever. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come right back.
Ooh. All right, everybody, welcome to another week of comics. Now, we had a great little haul this week. I feel like I've been saying it every week, but I had some really good comics this week. And shout out to all of the creators for doing what they need to do. Of course, we had some mentions for the people. Sins of Sinister Dominion #1 came out. This marks the end of the Sins of Sinister event. If you have been keeping up with that and everything that happened, I know some people who are reading it and they were telling me about it and some things that they enjoyed about it. Apparently, Rasputin, this is a spoiler alert for those who don't know, Rasputin came to the main 616 universe, so it looks like she's going to be hanging out with the people, and they threw a couple of council members in the pit, Xavier, Emma, Exodus, and Hope, so we'll have to see what goes on with them in some future issues. Strange #2 also came out this week. Clea and Doctor Strange traveled to Nightmare's universe to do some stuff. Moon Knight also guest appeared, which was really great. Him and Clea are officially best friends now, and I just think that is absolutely fantastic. Green Arrow #1 came out this week, and that was a huge win for the Green Arrow fam. Had amazing art. This is another spoiler alert for those who don't know. Roy Harper is in it, and he was reunited with Leanne Harper, which was an amazing thing for those who don't know. Leanne is his daughter. She was killed in one of the DC events years ago. Then she came back. She's actually been appearing in that Catwoman book, and a lot of people were she was one of the kids that Catwoman had in Alleytown that was helping her out in the background and stuff. So I've been seeing her, and they're this is Leanne. What's going on? When's Roy going to find her? And so they finally had their reunion in the first issue, so that was super dope to see. And then for our last mention, Unstoppable Doom Patrol #2 also came out this week. That has been a book that's been with this new DC initiative and a lot of the titles they've been releasing. I'm a fan of the Doom Patrol. I think they're weird. A fun thing that actually did happen in this book was they had a data page. And for those who don't know, like the Doom Patrol and the X-Men are two teams that have kind of been compared a lot in the past. They always just say that one's rip off the other. The guy in the wheelchair, he's got his students, all the stuff. They've got powers. They're weird. So like having to see that data page in this book, like I was like, oh, that's super cute and fun. I liked it. And those are our mentions. We'll get into our main books, and we'll start out with Photon number 5, and that comes from Eve Ewing, and I'm not sure who does the art on this.
The art is by Luca Maresca.
Luca Maresca. Okay.
And the
I was
colors
not
by
reading
Carlos Lopez.
Photon, but I know that's your girl. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, I do like Photon, but I don't know if I fully stand because something about like her story just seems to always just involve her being very powerful and not a lot about her and like her being like a superhero and stuff. So I do like her, but this issue itself, while written very well as far as like, um, the pacing for the story and telling more about Monica, I guess the conclusion of it all just wasn't that great for me because I wanted more of Monica and less of just being reassured that she has powers and that she's powerful. Like, I know that. Um, but this issue opens up the last issue she ran into Star Fox. She runs into him again and she's like, oh, you look different than the Star Fox I know. And she's like, it's just been it's been a while since we've seen each other. Because they both were Avengers at the same time. They go back. Also talking about A Beyonder, and of course, Star Fox is able to have this like MacGuffin machine that just is able to is like, hey, I can plug you into this machine. You can use your powers, and it can take you to this place of like where you need to be to figure out like what is going on with you. Because I guess there's this like multiversal threat that's coming along and like changing the multiverse and changing the timelines and everything. And she needs to figure out what that problem is because she is the cause of it all. Then she has this like flashback moment after she's been plugged into this machine, and we see all of her, of course, when she was Captain Marvel, and she's having all these moments of, why am I doing this? And I just really want to prove it to myself. Like I want to prove. Everyone keeps telling me how like I'm good at being Captain Marvel and how I was the leader of the Avengers, but what about me? What do I actually want? And she says how she wants to prove to herself, and she has to accept herself for being very powerful. She wakes up, the multiverse is fixed, and by the end of it, she's pretty much saying, I recognize that I am the most powerful being in the world and the universe, and never again shall I make the mistake of underestimating Monica Rambeau. And that's the end of the story. She go back to her cousin house, the gay one. That's the story.
So I saw like some panels from the last issue where they were she was talking to, I think, the Beyonder, and they were talking about like, you don't know what you are. Are you going to say what you are? Did they ever say what she was?
No.
Oh, okay.
It just moved on. Just know that she had powers originally from when she was a kid. And I guess like no one gave Monica anything. She always had it, is what we're supposed to take away from that.
Okay.
And she's very powerful.
She's very powerful. I know that's important to a lot of people. You, as a Monica fan, how do you feel?
A little underwhelmed. I feel as though this miniseries, I was under the impression that I would actually get more into Photon. I liked when she was Spectrum and she was kind of on these teams, but we never really got too much into fantastic name, but we never really got too much into like Monica and what does Monica do within the Marvel universe? What is her role? And I thought I was kind of gonna get more of that within this miniseries, but unless the role they're trying to say is that she's just very powerful, then I did reach the conclusion, I guess, by finding out what Monica does. But for me, I kind of wanted a little bit more than that.
Okay, that's fair.
Characters like Monica, like I know she's powerful.
Yeah. What would you rate this issue, and then what would you rate this like miniseries as a whole?
Honestly, I'd give both a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I think that they gave Monica a great voice. And you and I have talked about it before on this show about like, when they have Black people talk, sometimes it's like a caricature. She didn't feel that. She never felt that way while still feeling authentically Black to me. And I appreciated that a lot for Monica in this. New costume is hot. I do like that. However, as far as the story, she bounced universes and said that she was very powerful.
Yeah. I
And we
guess
didn't get too much.
if there was to be like a sequel or a follow up to this, what would you like to see Monica do? Now that you
I
know
would love
she's the most powerful in the universe and she's established that, okay, now what?
if we can already establish that this is Monica Rambeau Photon, and if she gets something else like a Photon #1, like a proper series for herself, I would like for her to get her own villains and establish herself as a superhero. Or if she wants to do more cosmic stuff, do that there, but a
Mm-hmm.
more defined lane than just another descriptor of her being very powerful.
That's fair. That's very fair. Okay. Well, everybody, let us know what you thought about Photon #5, what you felt about Monica, if you felt this was a good
Yeah,
showing, what you would have liked to see, what you liked to see. There wasn't Moonstone in one of the issues. They didn't fight.
no, they were. She was in the last issue, last two issues, I think. And because Monica was bouncing universes, she went to this other universe, ran into that moonstone. That moonstone was good. She was a scientist.
Queen. Love that. All right. Moving on. Next book on the list is Action Comics #1054. That comes from Philip Kennedy Johnson. They actually had a guest artist on here. It was Max Raynor. I thought it was Rafa Sandoval earlier, but it was not. But it's Action Comics. It's a good time. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues to clear it. Here we have the Super Twins. One of them showed up at the site where the Mentalos all were, and looks like she accidentally killed somebody. And John shows up and he's like, this is my fault. I told you guys this, and that. You shouldn't have come here. So he tries to go and save people. She's like, those aren't really people. They're actually a bunch of Mentalo infected folks. And then a big fight ensues. We get a quick scene of Clark and Lois together, and it was classic Lois. She's on the phone with somebody. She's like, are the cameras okay? Like, are you getting everything? What's going on? Clark realizes, oh, it's the kids. He flies off. A big fight ensues. And I gotta say, Max Raynor, the way he drew the super people's powers throughout this issue, I thought was like really, really well done. Even in just their fights with Mentala when they were punching each other and hitting each other, it looked like hits that hurt, that were hard, that were heavy, that were supposed to be impactful. And shout out to him. Even as they're fighting, the Mentala gets the super twins and teleports away. Clark goes up into the air to like do his super hearing thing, and the way that panel was drawn, and
Yes.
like just him looking over the city and the effect, like just really, really great stuff. He does something new with his powers in this book that he talks about when he was on in War World. He dealt with like the Genesis fragments and all that stuff. It's affected him and given him some abilities to counteract kryptonite, and then he just does this like big, powerful blue energy form thing. I wasn't that into it.
I
Soup's been
loved it.
doing Soup's been doing some stuff in these last few issues. We saw him like moving super fast when he touched Luthor's armor and destroyed that. He's teleporting back and forth. It's cool. The giant energy form, I don't know.
Anybody out there that watches any of the Naruto anime, y'all know it's a Susanoo that any of the Uchiha people can do. So I thought it was really cool. I thought it was dope. Cool upgrade to his powers. It also makes sense for his like blue electric form kind of powers. And he has like a bioelectric thing. It's just like
I
a bigger
mean,
version of that. I like
if
it.
it's
It's
if
hot.
it's if it's anime, I'll give it to you. I know how that moves the people. Um, But nonetheless, Clark defeats
And it's the way
Mentalo.
you say it. My gosh.
Clark defeats Mentalo, and we talk to the kids and all that stuff. We do get into later in the issue, and we see that it looks like Cyborg Superman is also back, and now he's like, all right, you beat like the opener. Now it's time for the main event. And it looks like he's going to come back soon, which is always Cyborg Superman always puts up a good fight, so it's going to be really nice to see. I really do like the way that Philip Kennedy Johnson has kind of dissected this run. If you get into War World, that is the big space epic where Superman is liberating people. He is doing this massive, amazing thing. It's dangerous, it's deadly, it's dark. Cool. Now we get back to Earth and we see superhero Superman. He is like saving people in a different way. He's trying to teach the kids how to be heroes and what that means and their ethics and all of that stuff. He's still doing some things that shows people he's not the one to be played with. But
No. He told
he's
that boy, you're still a bully. I gotta put you down.
yeah. He's letting them know like I'm not that girl, but he's doing it in like less destructive way. And so I think that's been really cool to watch how he's kind of done the dichotomy of Superman and like his power versus how he uses it, when he uses it, how he should use it, and things of that nature. There were also two backup stories in this book. One of them did feature Steel. I will not lie to you, I skimmed them both. I didn't really get too much into them. I know the Steel one though is kind of like a precursor for the Steelworks book that is coming up in the future. So
Yes.
I will still be getting into that.
And I think that's going to, will it star the, does she have her own, will it star Natasha? Does she have her own code name?
She's Steel.
She's still, okay.
But she is going to be in it. I believe it's supposed to be John Henry and Natasha.
Okay.
So
Well, I did read this, the backup. It was written by Dorado Quick, and the artist was Yasmin Flores Montanez. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe this person was the winner of the Milestone Initiative that they were running, and that's when they were able to write this. I could be wrong, but I will have to confirm that. Tweet me if y'all know. But I thought it was pretty good. I liked the way that they were fighting and everything. Sometimes the dialogue teetered a little bit on a little corny with the
so let me
quips
tell you,
and the way that they were talking to each other.
this is a safe space. So I'm gonna tell you that's why I didn't really want to read it, because John Henry, when I think about him, I think of like
Barbershop black man, like
yeah, and it's like I don't want to read that. I don't want to hear you talk because I know how you talk.
yeah, yeah. Which is exactly kind of how I feel about him. But I do like Natasha, so maybe it still works. It'll be a little different. However, she was speaking like us, like a millennial. However, it felt like every time that she spoke, she was giving like millennial slang, talking about stuff being
Mm,
lit and to giving
period.
receipts. And I'm
I
sure, I
mean,
guarantee she's gonna say period in in
we do.
still
I
works.
mean, I guess with so when I think of things like that, I don't mind it. Of course, obviously I
Right.
talk like that, but I think it'll be interesting if when we get the actual book and we see them interacting with other people who aren't family, who aren't friends, if that's still how they talk. I think that's always a thing. Code switching is very real. I do not go to work talking about it's lit and
Right.
well, not all the time anyway. But I'll never forget. I was like sitting there and I heard these two women talking, and one of the girls she said, "Oh yeah, she's such a city girl," and I like immediately yelled out, "Period."
Period.
That's not what they were talking about at all. It was more so like, she likes the country, she likes the city.
I
And
mean, same
so
thing.
you know what I'm saying? And so it's like you have to kind of facilitate when that comes in. So if in still works, we see a little bit more like that, I think I'll be able to take it. But if she's just talking like that with everybody and doing everything, looks like okay, then you're kind of just putting on a little bit to me.
Yeah, I agree. But definitely check it out. I really liked the art. I really liked the action scenes and stuff they were fighting. They looked really great. The second backup story, the Dan Jurgens one about like young John, is also fun. He's getting in trouble saving a princess, but obviously the princess ends up turning out to be evil.
And this is all. I will say, even though if I don't read them all, I really do appreciate that DC does these backups and like
Yes.
puts them in the books, and so those people who like these characters can kind of get those stories. You can push something different for a lot of people. I know in the Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods one book that's been going on, they're doing a backup that has Nubia, Philippus, and Queen Faruka of the Amazons, and they've been like going through fighting, and that one's been really really good, and that's been dope to see. And I think if people continue to push them and really make sure that they feel legitimate, that's how you get books. Power Girl had her backup, she just got a book announced.
Now she's got in the book, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So
speaking of that, did you see that Fire and Ice are getting a
Fire and
little
Ice are
miniseries?
getting a
We were just talking
miniseries.
about them too.
We were just talking about them. Welcome to Smallville. If you guys support that, again, there has been this new precedent of books coming out and being announced as 5-issue miniseries. But if they get the sales and they do what they need to do, a lot of them can be extended. We've seen it happen with a lot of books recently. I think we should really try and continue to push that trend for these characters that we love that we don't get to see a lot. Come out, show out, buy it, support it, tweet about it. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, the big two don't be doing a lot of promo for their books. So if you can
No,
draw some pictures.
do it. It helps.
It does. Um, all in all, I thought Action Comics continued to be great. I would give this like a 4 out of 5. I did like Rainer's art. I didn't like the way he drew the powers. I do prefer Sandoval's style a little bit more. who seem to be taking it.
4 out of 5 for me too.
Okay. Shout out to them. Next book on the list is Captain America: Symbol of Truth, number 12. And that comes from Tochi Onyebuchi and R.B. Silva. And we are in part 2 of Captain America: Cold War. And this issue was honestly just a big fight scene. It's Sam, Steve, Misty, and Sharon. They are in the middle of the place where they are looking to find White Wolf and all that stuff. They're being attacked by the Dimension Z monsters, and they all just kind of split up. Sam and Steve are obviously clashing with their ideologies about how they're going to handle this in terms of Bucky and White Wolf and Ian and all of the things that he's been doing. Sam is telling him, like, look, I know that's your boy. I know he's done some things. I know he can get a little crazy, but look at what he's doing right now. We got to stop. Steve is obviously like, I can save Bucky. I can save Ian. I can do it all. Whatever. Sharon and Misty are on the side fighting like, oh, this is going to be a thing, ain't it? And they're like, yeah, but they're just they're man. And so we love that for them. This issue was really good in terms of just like the movement and the art and stuff. R.B. Silva does some really cool things with Sam and his abilities. Like they're in the middle of a snowstorm fighting, so he does this thing where he like spins his wing, he spins around, he's like using his wings to create his own little snowstorm that takes out a bunch of the monsters, which is dope. Him and Steve are like tossing each other around and like working together. Again, the girls are doing what they need to do. They find a bunch of refugees that have been displaced by whatever's going on, and again, they have a little bit of a difference of opinion on how they should handle it. Sam is like, obviously these refugees and these people should be our first priority. We need to help them. Steve is like, we need to get to Dimension Z so we can find the boys. And it's like, okay. And I do really appreciate how Tonya Bucci is writing them. I think a lot of times when we see these heroes go into their hero versus hero mode, it can be a lot of overreacting, and a lot of times some of the things they do and say could be out of character, and it becomes a bigger issue than it needs to be. I don't feel like that's been happening here. Instead, it feels like they both know this is bad, and we both know this can get bad if we like argue about it too much. So they're not trying to do that. They're very much like, let's put a pin in this for now and like focus on this. So like, let's do that. So I really do appreciate that. By the end of the issue, we see Ian. He is in his prison. Him and Bucky are kind of like talking about what's going on. Bucky like walks off all menacing, and he gets jumped by Black Widow, and she shows up with Black Widow his throat. And so we'll see what happens from there. So really exciting stuff. R.B. Silva's art looks great. I would definitely give this issue a strong 3.5 out of 5. Lots of really interesting things happening here. It was a little light on the overall plot, but again, we saw that ideology clash, which I thought was really dope to see. Sam and Steve are kind of killing it. Great time for Cat fans. This event, I'm liking it. So that's good.
Okay.
And the last book on our list today, my favorite book.
2 captains, back to back.
Back to back. Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain, number 3. My favorites are kind of having a moment. And I like this issue. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, okay.
I actually like the book a lot. I really do think that this is kind of Teeny's best work that she's put out. I do hate that it took this long to get here to this. Let me talk about the issue first. So we start off the issue. Betsy is talking with like Brian and Megan. They're going out to some show. They're like, do you want to come? She's like, no, we're still looking for Morgan. Rachel has been chrono skimming a lot, trying to like find her. She can't contact her. Betsy contacts the Betsy Corps. We see Queen Betsy, who was like, the doll. That's my girl. She needs a solo. And they're like, we haven't seen Morgan. She seems to be in your reality. Morgan has sent one of the Furies, who is dressed in the colors of the Union Jack flag, after Brian to kill him. Betsy shows up, helps. There's been destruction in the court where the musical was, so we see kind of later on in the day that Betsy and Strike have been helping the victims and trying to heal them. And we also see some of that public opinion turning around about Betsy. We do get like this data page that's a big news blast of her, and it's by her detractors, and they're talking about like, oh, she's Captain Britain, but she wasn't anywhere around to save the people. That was Brian. But then we also have like another segment where there's the news crew talking about like, oh no, she was actually here carrying people for like 6 hours, helping them out of the wreckage and stuff like that.
Okay.
Rachel shows up. They have a small argument because Betsy's like, she's getting frustrated. She's like, we can't find Morgan. She's causing all this drama. We need to get to her. Maybe we should get Saturnine. Rachel does not like that at all. She seems a little bit jealous, honestly. Betsy even asks her, she says, are you jealous? And Rachel's like, read my mind. which means yes, because it's like, you know, she's not going to read your mind. But nonetheless, they get into it about that, and Rachel's just like, Saturnine wants you to come crawling back to her. She's thrown herself at you. She's thrown herself at Brian. That's not a good idea. Betsy's like, I don't got time for this. She walks off. They go help some people. We get back to Morgan. She is dealing with her furies, and she's showing that, like, you actually didn't kill Brian. We need to stop Betsy. I want Britain to be back in this place that is like old and burning, and everyone worships me. I don't care about your progressiveness and all the stuff that you want to do. I need help. We cut back again to Betsy. She's in this white dress, got some backless action going on. Rachel pops in and she's like, you know, maybe you were right about Saturnine. They have kind of a reconciliation moment. Betsy's telling her, like, look, you don't need to worry about that. I'm here with you. We're actually not going to get Saturnine. I found some other help. Rachel's like, where you going? Betsy's like, don't worry about it, which I thought was really funny.
Already planting the seeds to cheat.
But while that is happening, we also have like this one page that's kind of a cutscene of like Betsy and Rachel interacting, and then we see Morgan in her fury going to Latveria, where we end up with the final page. We see that Betsy has gone to Tony Stark because she's like, you know, I'm fighting Morgan. I need a little bit of info about her and her friends. And then we see Morgan sitting on Doom's lap, and she's like, I heard you got my castle. And that's what the issue ends. So it was a lot of just like kind of moving the plot along here, but I do like it. My thing, as I've always said, is I've always seen the vision in Teeny's story. I got what she was doing when she was in Excalibur and she had Betsy in the spot of like kind of being broken and trying to build herself back up. I understood what she was doing in Knights of X of like, you know, her being in Otherworld and like having to solve the mutant problem and mutant death issue there. And even just like her in this role of Captain Britain and like trying to be confident again and trying to do things differently than she has before. And like all of that stuff. And obviously in this book, even a little bit of Excalibur, we saw where she finally made the butterfly effect again. And in this series, she's done her psychic knife, and we see that confidence showing through. We see her being flirty. She's got on her dress. She used to be sexy so she can seduce Tony. We're getting a little bit of that. You have the issues with Rachel showing some relationship stuff, and then also delving into Betsy's past, because we know the doll is a little bit of a cheater at times. We hope that she's gotten better, though. And then just for Rachel and this being like her first big relationship in a really long time. Like, of course, she'll kind of be a little bit emotional, and she's a crybaby regardless. But I feel like with Teeny Howard and this book in general, I feel like a lot of it has just come too late. And it's like fine, but it's kind of, it's like tame. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, these are things, what they're saying, it's very normal, it's very generic. There's just a little bit of bite that misses sometimes from that dialogue that I think could elevate the story a little bit more at times. But other than that, I just feel like a lot of these things that she's done has come too late. I'll always say that when Exosaurs happened, I think Betsy should have come back with the other captains. And then all of that like butterfly stuff, or even that story with that Psylocke 2 girl, that all could have happened. You could have done the butterfly effect there. You could have had the psychic knife with King Arthur, and then you could have still built up the rest of your story showing that confidence in her growing. And I feel like a lot of people who have read these books have either, they're like burnt out, they don't want to wait anymore, or now that they're getting somewhat of it, it's like too little too late. Mm-hmm. And it does end at issue 5. So, you know, I think at this point it will be interesting to see where she ends Betsy off. Again, this feels like the culmination of all the stories that we've been reading, and it feels like she's putting Betsy in this space to be like set for just wherever the next writer wants to take her. Like, yeah, I did my girl. She was broken down. I brought her back up. Now she's back in the space that you would see like a disassembled Betsy in. That energy that she was given here, she's got it again. She's just got it as Captain Britain. And now, what are people going to do with that? So, all in all, I did like the issue. I think it was fine. Vasco's art seems a little bit better. I do still think it's a little bit rough in spots that I give him some passes for because this is his big first comic work. I do think it's been getting better each issue as it's gone past. Britain is very white in this book. I think in a lot of the books that Marvel has, honestly. And I think they try to combat that with certain characters, like Phaedra Hussein being in the story and talking about like how people don't like Betsy because she doesn't, or the British people don't want Betsy because she doesn't look like them. And you can, and like, it's one of those things with the mutant metaphor, kind of like, this don't really work right here. Because it's like Betsy does just look like everybody else, and I get it. The whole thing is supposed to be like she's a woman, it's misogyny, she's a mutant, so like that's supposed to be into it. But I guess it's just better ways that you could say that or kind of like get that in. And of course, it feels very apt that you would have Phaedra Hussein say that, who is the only brown person in this book. Whereas like if we were a little bit different, I might be able to buy into it more. But it's like it's nothing but y'all around. So it'll be interesting to see how they try and combat that in the future. As I've said before, I think a lot of like the specials that they put out, they're introducing a lot of characters because over the last 60, 70 years of comics, we've always been given a lot of like white protagonists. And now I think when you put them out, you want to push the narrative because there are more people that exist than just that. And so I wonder if they'll kind of do that with the whole Excalibur British realm too, as this book goes on. But we'll see. Nonetheless, I would give this a strong 3 out of 5. It's solid. It's like I said, I think it's some of the best work that TV has been putting out since she started on this journey, and I am actually kind of excited to see how she ends it off. We'll see.
Okay.
Betsy made an illusion in this issue, and that was really nice.
Oh, bring that back.
You know,
Man, she do that.
she really did use her powers a lot.
A real Psylocke.
But those are our books of the week. Let's go ahead, take a break, and then we'll come back.
Let's do it.
Twitter would be crazy.
Oh yeah, it'd be hot. Well, could you imagine like tweeting through that if you were living in that universe? The shading stuff.
What would we do? That's actually really exciting. That should be like a book, like a side book of like all the heroes when all the drama's going down. It's like, oh, well, I'm kind of over here.
That'd be really funny. I know I would tweet through stuff like, "Oh my god, did y'all see her get beat up again?"
Like,
Anyway, all right, y'all. Welcome back to. Okay, so we haven't really decided what we're gonna call this section. If it's gonna just be the AR Club, maybe the rewatch or whatever. But we're going through some restructuring. But this section now is going to be where we watch stuff. So we're gonna finish off with. We told everybody to finish with episodes 13 and 14 of Justice League Unlimited, but the way that they were set up on the show, they didn't really look right. So we'll just finish off season 1. And next week we'll be coming and watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and talking about that. So definitely come back and watch that. We'll see how we feel about it. And then after that, we're going to come back and actually watch the original Justice League first before we get too far into Justice League Unlimited. But yeah, this will be like more of like where we discuss watching stuff. There may be some times where we do like a character corner and stuff here too, just to see. But thanks again for bearing with us while we do some of these changes. But this episode that we watched was called The Once and Future Thing, Part 2. Part 1, we already talked about previous episodes, I think back in January. And this episode was the continuation of, I don't know if he ever got a name. The Time, I don't know if he ever had a name. The Time Guy? Is he based off of like an actual character? You probably don't know. You probably don't really like too many time characters, right?
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I actually do like a lot of characters who have abilities based in time, slowing it down, speeding it up. Um, I don't necessarily think I care too much when they travel through time.
Mm,
That's like,
that's fair. I don't know if he had a name. But anyway, our characters are, they have previously been trapped in back in the past before. Now they're back in the future Gotham and they see like an older Static, as well as like Batman Beyond and this guy called Warhawk, who we learn is the child of Green Lantern and Hawk Girl Shire Hall, because he calls him dad. It's like, I don't really like that because I'm not the biggest fan of that relationship, and I really don't need them to have a kid to like solidify it. So
oh, it was cute, but I'm here for the relationship. I like
no,
it.
when we rewatch Justice League, I'm sure we'll really talk about their relationship. But then we find that the one guy Chucko, who was like he had like this weird like lightsaber thing, He basically had been basically like a spy on the other side and like feeding information to the heroes and helping them out. The heroes end up getting away after this whole fight with these girls like Tweedledee, the Dee twins. And I couldn't tell if they could like make more of them or if there was just like a third girl. But like there was another girl there too. But they had these like laser whips and they fight Green Lantern. I do have to say there was a moment in this scene where like Green Lantern had a shield up and these sparkles went off and they were yellow. And like one thing I do not like that's annoying to me as a Green Lantern fan is when someone has to remind the audience that Green Lantern had a weakness against yellow stuff. And like you could have found another way to show that his shield wasn't gonna hold or whatever, but like I get it. You wanted to show that they had that weakness to yellow.
Always been such a weird little thing to me, but whatever.
That's such a dumb thing, but it's comics, right? I guess they do whatever they want to do. So they make a retreat. Static like blinds everybody. They make a retreat. Go back to Bruce Wayne or Batman's Batcave. They end up meeting old Bruce Wayne. They have a little meeting up, which is funny. Batman Beyond has a lot of like quick one-liners that I think are actually kind of funny in this series. Are you a Batman Beyond fan?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay.
I really do like Terry McGinnis. I actually really love that whole show. The character, there was one of the villains that he fought. Her name was Ink, and she was Max.
With the
yeah. Oh, she was my girl. I think about her all the time. But I always enjoy Batman Beyond. Great costume, great design. Maxine, great cartoon.
I've noticed that you like the future versions of the popular characters, like Spider-Man 2099, Batman Beyond.
It's something different. I feel like a lot of times when we do future stories, we always see the heroes in the future, but they're doing the same thing, and I just don't think that's exciting. A lot of times when we go into the future, we do get to see like a new version of that hero doing new stories in a different place. I also really just enjoy stories set in the future in general. I like to see the way that people imagine technology has advanced. I like to see the way that like society has advanced or regressed, depending on what happens and how like the people will deal with that in general.
Yeah.
There's this movie I actually just watched on Netflix not too long ago. It's called Time Trap. These people like they explore some cave and basically there's like some time wimey jammy when you're in the cave. Like let's say you're in there for 3 hours. Outside in the real world, 300 years have passed by. And so like they're kind of dealing with the process of like figuring out what happened and like going to Earth out of the cave and seeing like how things have changed and then coming back into the cave and then like we get deeper and deeper into the future and stuff like it's really cool. I recommend people watch it if you haven't. It's on Netflix. Again, it's called Time Trap.
Okay, y'all getting some time movies there. So speaking of some time stuff in this, Wonder Woman like phased away because again, like all this like disruption in time is like causing things to mess up throughout the timelines. She fades away. They wonder, is it she either A, never even left the island or maybe she was never even born. So time is messing up. They end up finding out information from that like scarecrow guy about where his secret base is. They go and meet up with Enid, who is the wife, and they try to get her to give him information. Meanwhile, on the way there, like Green Lantern had switched into Hal Jordan, and then later he switched back, which I'm sure Hal Jordan fans were excited about seeing him in the show. Again, Static was like, when you make up your mind, you keep like switching. Again, the time shift is happening, which I thought was a fun bit. Oh, Kronos, that was his name. So I don't know if he's an actual character in the comics or not. I have to check that out. If anybody else knows, let me know. But Kronos ends up being found. He tries to get away because he's got like Batman's utility belt, but he tries to like get away using his own Kronos belt. That is hard to say. Kronos belt. He uses that to try to get away. Batman and Green Lantern chase after him. He's in this like time stream. Green Lantern says, there's a rule that no one can see the beginning of the time, which I know is actually kind of a Easter egg because in the Marvel universe, I'm sorry, in the DC universe, the multiverse was created because one of the original Guardians, one of the little blue guys from the Green Lantern series, did try to use time and go back in time and saw the beginning, and his machine like exploded and it shook stuff, and that's how the multiverse got created. So I thought this was a fun little, bit like that you can't see the beginning of time. The Guardians have that rule, and they made that rule because the last time somebody tried to do it, things ended up getting worse.
Yeah,
They try to stop Kronos. They end up stopping him. Come back in time, and Green Lantern and Batman are back in their own spots, and things have shifted as if nothing else around them changed, but they remember everything.
Mhm.
And Kronos is left in a time loop, getting yelled at by his wife, which is funny.
Yeah, they always know.
Again, I like this series, and I definitely like this season. They had a lot of one and dones kind of episodes with this. I know the next couple seasons are like that too. But also like the ability to have all the different characters in this while they were in the past. They had like characters like Jonah Hex and Batlash was in there too. So like they were able to add all that kind of stuff. And then they go to the future and we get Batman Beyond and Older Static. So I like that Justice League Unlimited allows all this stuff.
This costume was really good. That was good television right there.
The nostalgia hitting you?
Yeah, it is a little bit. But oh my gosh. I remember like when it came when I gagged, I was like, ah!
I know, same. I was like, oh my God, Zach's older. I was like 11 when that happened. But yeah, I like this episode. Definitely let us know what you guys think. Next week, we'll definitely be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And then after that, we're going to start watching the Justice League, the original series, and keep watching that as we go through. What did you think of this episode before we sign off?
I loved it, but I love the future stuff. I love seeing the new characters. I thought a lot of them were like really interesting. John and Shahira's kid, the Aqua girl that was there, the like everything that was happening, the characters. It was hot. Unlimited was great. These cartoons were great, like just in general. Like they really did well, and I loved how they stand the test of time. That you can watch them again and it's still kind of like, damn, this hits.
Yeah, this was like 20 years ago, but they are still hidden. Shout out to DC Animation. They really had a hold on it for a while.
I was about to say back then for a while.
Yeah. I'm not feeling the Tomorrowverse stuff that they've got going on right now. I like the animation style, but I don't really like the stories all the way.
I feel like again the animated movies kind of started clicking down a little bit, like right before that Apocalypse War one. So I don't know. We'll see.
I wonder if they're gonna reboot anything or try to do more animated stuff. I know this Captain Commando's thing is an animated series. Maybe this means we might get more animated series. We saw that Gunn said that they were working on a Wonder Woman animated series. We'll see if that ever sees the light of day.
What happened with a video game? Have they given an update on
that? No update on that yet. I'd rather them remain quiet than say something and then like it all gets pushed back or
Suicide Squad kills the Justice League and that just can't win.
No, they could barely get it out the door. It looked like it got pushed back again in 2024.
It
did. See?
It definitely did. I don't know.
Shame.
Crazy.
Hopefully we get right with the video games. All right, y'all. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Please make sure you guys rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Another Relaunch. You can watch us on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. You can find me on most social media platforms at Uncanny LZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
You guys know you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. As always, there's an underscore at the end.
All right, y'all. Let's get up out of here and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Bye.